Next up, we're going to take a look at how to create the basic primitives inside of Maya. The first thing we want to do is make sure that we're at the same spot. So if you go up to your tray here and make sure that you have your polygon tab selected. And with that selected, you can see a number of different type of primitives that we can create. So the first thing we want to do is just create a basic primitive. I'm going to select on our sphere here to start with. When I select on it, we can see that it tells us to drag on the grid. Now when I left click and drag, holding the left mouse button, left click and drag, then we can set the size of the object by dragging up or down with the mouse. When you get to the size that you want, you can let go of your left click, your left mouse button, and that's going to set the size and have the object selected. It's also going to display the properties of that object over here in our channel box. It's going to show us where our translation, rotation, scale, visibility, and additional modifiers are set. Okay, the next thing we can do, we can create additional objects, but before we do, let's look at how we select on the object. We'll notice in our toolbox over here we have our selection tool highlighted. That's the one that we're currently using. If I left click to the side of my shape, it's going to deselect the object. If I left click on the object, it's going to select it. I can also drag out a selection box by left clicking and dragging, and whatever is inside of that region is going to get selected. Okay, so let's go back up and take a peek at these additional primitives, and we'll quickly see how to create with them. With the square, we can left click and drag to set the shape of our object. When we get to the size that we want, we can let go, and then we're going to drag up, left click and drag up to set the height of that object. We have additional objects like a cylinder. Same basic process, left click and drag to set the radius, and then left click and drag up or down to set the height of the object. We have a plane in the scene that we can drag out. There we go. And what else do we have? We have a nice little torus. We can left click and drag to set the initial radius, then left click and drag to set the radius of our torus. We have a nice little pyramid, left click to set it, and then we also have a tube here that we can set the outside and then the height of the object. So as you can see, a lot of good basic shapes and primitives to get started with, and typically what you will see is that these are great beginning pieces when you start modeling. Alright, we're going to select back on our selection tool. And how do we get rid of objects inside of the scene? We can select on them, we can click on the delete key, and the delete key is going to delete the objects inside the scene for us. So go ahead and just take a minute, select on the objects. You can even left click and drag and make a multiple selection to delete the objects in the scene. Now additionally, you have keys that help you constrain the object as you work on it. Right now, if you left click and drag, it's going to drag from one point. If you're holding the control key as you drag, it's going to use it as a center point. If you're going to hold the shift key and drag, it's going to constrain the object for you and then keep it nice and square. We can see that with a plane as well. With the control key from the center, with the shift key, it keeps it constrained. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at our other option for selection. So I'm going to make multiple selections. We notice that we can drag out a selection box to select. But if we want to deselect one of the objects inside of here, we can hold on the control key and left click, and that's going to deselect an object from a selection. If you want to add an object to a selection, you can hold the shift key and left click on the object, and that's going to add an object to a selection. Okay, and with that we can see how to create the basic primitives, how to select on the primitives, how to add to a selection, and how to remove from a selection, as well as how to get rid of the selections that we have.